is the Forbes Books Podcast, conversations with amazing humans who are impacting the world of business and beyond. Hola, I'm Joe Pardavila, and this week I've got Jacob Furbee, a trailblazing leader whose 19-year track record spans driving sustainable growth, cultural transformation, and operational excellence across the defense, manufacturing, and technology sectors. From his formative years as an operations manager in the U.S. Marine Corps to his current role as CEO of XFS Global, Jacob has honed a unique ability to marshal teams, identify strategic opportunities, and shape lean, profitable operating models. Jacob is here to share his invaluable insights on strategy execution and fostering a culture of continuous improvement. Hey, Jacob, how are you?
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for having me on.
So I'm going to start with a super random question, if you don't mind, which I usually do, start these with random questions. How tough was it living in the 90s where the Furbee craze happened and you had the last name Furbee? Can you explain what your life was like back then?
Absolutely. It was okay until I went to boot camp. Boot camp is where the last name Furbee became a problem for me.
And I have a friend who was in the Marines, and in boot camp, I think his last name is Bundy, and at the time he was around, Married with Children was on, so his boot camp name was Kelly. So they call him Kelly. So what kind of machinations did they do with Furbee with you in boot camp?
They would make me walk around and make the Furbee noise of the Furbee doll. And then there was a time where they had me hold a Furbee and sing a song.
Was that because I know everyone gets a nickname. Did they have to give you a nickname since your name was already Furbee, or did they have one for you too? Furball. Okay, I knew there had to be one. Furball. Okay,
that's it.
All right, so let's talk about your Marine ties, because I love speaking to Marines because of the shit you guys got to go through. I mean, I was talking to a kid who's a Marine, currently stationed in Germany, and I said, you know, what kind of stuff do you see? He goes, unfortunately, like most of the deaths I see are like in training, you know, like, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but like, so, and I'm thinking to myself, man, it's hard enough being a Marine, like you're giving your life to this country, literally, but also like something as stupid as I think he told me a story, like during a drill, one guy was like running with a gun, fell, ended up shooting a guy and killing him just in a training mission. So tell me about your time in the Marines. I mean, I've done a great job setting up how awesome it is for a Marine.
Yeah, it was great.
But tell me about that.
So boot camp, I remember before I left to go, I watched a movie. You probably heard
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie...
Wait, so hold on a second. You watched that before you went to boot camp?
I did.
Bad move.
Here's the thing. I remember, and I tell everyone this, after I watched the movie, I thought, I really hope boot camp is not that bad. Then I go to boot camp. I go through what I went through. At the end of boot camp, I told everybody, I really wish boot camp would have been as easy as Full Metal Jacket.
Wow. Did you have your R. Lee Ermey character, the drill instructor? Did you have one of yours?
We had plenty of those.
Yeah.
There are no shortage of those on the depot.
Wow. And somehow you made a career out of it. How many years you spent in?
So I did 8 years active duty.
But you went past that, right? Weren't you doing other stuff? Didn't you work in the military after the 8 years?
So I egressed out of the Marine Corps, honorable discharge, and then I moved into the defense industry immediately after I finished up my time in the Marine Corps, and that's kind of where
And what was it about going in that direction? Like, because some people, as you probably know, like, my 8 years, poof, I'm done. Never don't want to be in that world anymore. So they're like, you know what? It's not so bad. I want to continue in this.
Sure. So I lived in the Camp Lejeune area when I separated from the Marine Corps, and that afforded me the opportunity to meet some folks in a very prominent company in the defense industry and gave me my opportunity. Took a chance on me, and I was able to be very successful there and kind of moved up through the ranks after that. And you have some skills as a military person or a former Marine that a lot of companies and corporations seek out for future leadership roles. And somebody took a chance on me, and that's kind of how I started my career in the defense industry after the Marine Corps.
Wow, that's awesome. That's great. And it's so funny you say that, because I know for years, and it may still be a problem, about, unemployed vets. And it's funny when you share a story like that, like you often hear leaders say, oh yeah, like 9 out of 10 times I'll take the former, Marine, or sorry, not say former, you're always a Marine, but you'll take the person who's served in the military. So why do you think there is this bit of a disconnect from former Army, Navy to not get work? Because you think it's like a slam dunk. Oh, geez, I want to have somebody who served 8 years in the Marines working for my company.
I think a lot of folks that separate from the military, they don't understand the challenge they face when they separate and how tough it's going to be outside of the uniform. And I think that a lot better preparation can be given to those folks to prepare them for what they're about to face. I also think the other side of that is folks have a sense of belief or false belief that because I was in the military, everybody's going to want to hire me, so it doesn't matter where I live, what geographical location I am in. And I think the fact of the matter is the closer you stay geographically to military installations, federal contract type companies and positions and roles, the better your success rate will be.
It's smart. It's funny you said that about the fact that preparation for it, because in a way it's hard because, as a Marine, you know this better than I. It's like you're a Marine 24/7. So it's not like the Marines are preparing you for like, hey, let's prepare Jake to get a job with these done for 8 years. It's just not a thing. Is there anything that can be done, whether it's through the VA or through the military in general, that could prepare people for life outside of the military, or is just no room for it? And the prime example of this is like medical school and doctors. Like in medical school, they don't teach doctors how to run a business or to be, to have an office, or they just don't. And I asked the doctor once, like, how come they don't teach that? It seems like something obvious. Like, there's no goddamn time. There's no time to learn how to run an office, to pay rent, have payroll in medical school because there's too much going on. Is it the same Marines? Like, there's just so much going on that the idea of training you for a post-Marine life, it's just not in the cards?
That's a good question. So all branches of the military offer a separation counseling session when you are 90 plus days out from separating or retiring.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
My advice would be take it at least 6 months out. The sooner you can take it when you know you're going to separate, the better off you're going to be, because at the end of the day, when you drive off that base or outside of that gate and take that uniform off, your networking is one of the strongest assets you have. Who you have networked with, who you've made connections with. Have you utilized the free resume writing services that the commands offer as you're in your separation process? All of those things in your toolkit to help you be successful once you separate. It's really all about those things and how you prepare.
Oh, so interesting. So it's really not the fault then, but it's on the soldier, right? To be ready for that. Because the government is offering something. It's not like they're just like, hey, see you, don't let the door hit you on the way out kind of thing. Sure. There is something. Oh, so that's good to hear. So, thank you for sharing that. One thing I love to learn about is the ways people make money in this country. And one thing that I learned over the last few years is government contracts. That's big business. And then I think for most people, they think government contracts, oh, you mean the people that build the missiles and the tanks? And they're like, sure. No, it's the IT software in a military base. So for folks unaware of this whole space, industry of the government contract industry, how fruitful is it and what's it like?
It's rewarding, but it's very challenging as well. It's not a short reward. It is a long game for sure. You need to have folks in your organization that understand government contracts, federal contracting, the federal acquisition regulation, all the different clauses that go with the contracts and such. And you need to have people that have prior military experience that understand the actual end user, the warfighter, and the customer. Those things are all required for you to be successful if you want to get into defense contracting business.
And it's one of those things that, from what I understand, is if you're good at it, you're going to do it for a long time because people like working with consistent people that deliver the goods. And I feel like that's something you probably, work towards over the last, 20, 30 years, right?
Certainly, you have to become a partner to the warfighter and the commands that seek your products and services, and they rely on those on the front lines. That's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah. So tell me about the services you've been involved with and the work you've done.
So I've been in the shelter industry really since 2010, providing engineered fabric structures and shelters to the Department of Defense through various organizations. The company that I lead now, which is XFS Global, we do that exact thing. We manufacture semi-permanent engineered fabric structures that are large enough you could park an aircraft in those. They serve as aircraft hangars. Some of them serve as dining facilities, storage facilities, maintenance facilities, and the like.
Wow. And so what is this stuff made out of? Is it a giant tent?
So there's various products on the market. There's various materials of construction. Our particular product is engineered fabric. as the skin, and then the actual frame is extruded aluminum. So you don't have corrosion, you don't have degradation of the material.
Okay.
And you get a lot longer life cycle out of the product.
And it sounds like this is an international thing, right? You're building stuff everywhere?
So we do. We have product in over 65 countries.
And so how's it work? Tell me how they come, like, does the Army say, hey, I got a base in Peru. We got to put like a hangar in there. And then they're like, okay, cool. Is it as easy as that?
It's not as easy as that. It's for sure not as easy as that. If only. So we have a sales team, an external outside sales team. We have an inside support staff. Our product is very well known. It's been around for years. We have some IP and some patents around the technology. So we have a good bit of market saturation with the product, but it's also about the product has stood the test of time. It's got longevity, and it serves a specific purpose in a very niche market. So we have a lot of repeat customers, and we have a lot of folks, obviously, in the Air Force, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Aviation, that our product is a really good fit for.
Wow.
So a lot of times the business finds us, but we also go and find the business ourselves as well.
Describe that for me. Like you mentioned salespeople. Like, do you have like people walking into generals' offices and be like, hey, you want to buy a tent? Like,
no, we're not door-to-door salesmen. That's not the model.
Okay.
So everyone we have is either retired or former military, so they understand the challenges that the warfighter faces. They understand the challenges with procurement with the federal government. They know how to help the customer navigate those waters and be able to procure the products that they need.
And who's a customer?
Yeah.
Describe who the customer is.
So sometimes it's a third-party buyer or a prime vendor, as we call it in our industry, and other times it's a direct military unit or command that has funds allocated for such assets, and they seek us out to help them solve problems or unique challenges that they face.
Cool. And there's nothing but, we make great military men here, but we're awesome at bureaucracy in the United States. So tell me how you guys thread that needle, the bureaucracy, the giant bureaucracy needle of getting shit done when it comes to connecting a service to the military.
So it's all about the right person in the right seat doing the right thing. You have to have the right people on the bus that understand the business and understand the customer and their challenges. That's really what we are. We solve problems every day for the warfighter and those that support them, but you can't do that without the right people.
And so how hard do they make it? Like, because you always hear about the red tape. Tell me about that.
No, it's not too difficult. Again, if you know how to navigate the waters, there are formal processes for every contracting agency that issues contracts and awards contracts in the federal government. So you need to understand that each one of those is unique and different. It's not a one size fits all. This is how you win a government contract.
Yeah.
Our industry is filled with consultants that have made a living on teaching companies and thought leaders and CEOs. Like
they live in Virginia, right?
They sometimes get referred to as the Beltway Bandits.
Yeah,
are there.
Yeah, I knew the region that they were in.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure. In terms of your industry, your particular niche, what's the competition like? Are there multiples of businesses that do the same thing that you do? It's, to me, as a layperson, you could tell I'm an idiot. Like, it sounds like, oh, there's probably a couple of you guys out there that are doing this thing. What's it like?
So in our specific size and class of product, there's a handful. In the small and medium-sized shelter industry, there are several.
Okay.
So we are in a much smaller pool of competition and folks that can provide what we provide to the warfighter.
How big are these structures you're building?
So some of them are 200 feet wide.
And how small? How small do you go?
So we could go down small enough that folks would sleep in it, or you would use it as a dining facility out in the field. But then again, large enough that you could park an Osprey or a C-130 inside it.
Wow. C-130, what's that?
It's a military.
Who are you talking to, Jacob? I'm going to C-130. I barely know what an airplane is. I'm not going to know what C-130 is. All right, you're here in Charleston, South Carolina, beginning your authority journey. Tell me why. Why do you think now is the point of your career that you put in the time in the military, now post-military? What do you have to offer to the world?
I think the story of adversity that I faced younger in my life. I lost my father at a very young age, and then I lost my mother not so long after that. And I think the Marine Corps really laid the foundation for me. There's a drive within me that I'm very competitive. I like to succeed. And I think it's all about taking adversity and turning that into success. And sharing that story and how to do that is part of my thought leadership and authority journey.
And in terms of your journey and the steps you took to get here, where do you see your life being if you didn't join the military? Do you, I mean, you probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to a handsome guy like myself, but what difference do you think that made to your life?
I think it was the foundation for everything that has happened in my life positively since that day. Since the day I left for Marine Corps boot camp, it laid the foundation for where I am today, without a doubt.
And I kind of should have asked this, but why Marines? Because, obviously there are options out there. Was it something that you saw before? Obviously, you didn't watch Full Metal Jacket yet, but maybe you saw a cool movie or you saw a commercial. Like, what drew you to that?
So I had several folks in my hometown that had joined the Marine Corps, and I'd went to talk to all the different recruiters, and I decided that if I'm going to do this, I want to go be part of the best. And that's really what drove my decision. I wanted to do something that would push me to my physical limit and challenge me in ways that I've never been challenged. And I felt like the Marine Corps was the best fit to do that.
Wow. And you did 8 years. What do you think in terms of the timeline of your life? Like, how different were you from the day you stepped foot to the day you left? What person was left after those 8 years?
Sure. I think the boot camp was transformational. It instills discipline, a sense of urgency in everything that you do. It definitely ensures that you appreciate the small things in life and that you're able to keep a positive outlook on life no matter what you're going through, because really that's what gets you through boot camp.
And then at post boot camp, what's life like?
It's been great. You go through your time in the Marine Corps or whatever service you're in. You separate, and then for myself, I got into like I said, the defense industry, and you move up in the corporate world, and all the skills that you learn and cultivate and that are grown in you as a young leader in the military, you just build on that year over year over year as you've moved on, and you take things like being able to lead through chaos and being able to be decisive and make decisions and lead people through challenging times. That's really what it's all about when you're a leader and a CEO of business.
When I talk to folks that served and then went into the corporate world, the one thing they have trouble with is, as is that you don't question leadership. You don't, if someone says, jump, you say how high. In the corporate world, sometimes you need to question leadership. Was that a struggle for you? Were you able to adapt to that? Because I feel like that could be, after 8 years of living life one way to them being like, oh, wait a minute, I actually have a voice here. I could say something. What was that transition like?
It was not a challenge for me to transition in that regard. I had a lot of great leaders and mentors around me that I watched and learned from. And as you grow and learn as a person and as a professional, you figure out that you do have a voice and you learn when to use it and when not to use it. And that's one of the best things I think that I learned after my Marine Corps career and my growth through the journey that I've been on is you have to understand that the corporate world is not the military.
How about a positive in terms of obviously you loved your time in the military, but like what are some of the positives of being in the corporate world? Because at the end of the day with the military, you're serving the country. So whereas in the corporate world, you're serving a company, you're obviously providing food for your family and all that other jazz, but it's not as great an impact to the world. It's capitalism. It's, taking care of business. What are some of the positive you took from your time in the corporate world?
Sure. So it's leadership, the ability to be able to lead and impact employees' lives. And in my exact role right now, being the president and CEO of a defense manufacturing company, I'm still connected to the warfighter. So I still get to make an impact on those that wear the uniform. And that is obviously near and dear to my heart. But I also get to lead people every day through various challenges, both personally and professionally. And for me, that's very rewarding.
And when you look back at that kid who watched Full Metal Jacket before he went into the military and then to where you are now, could you ever envision you being a CEO of a company? I'm saying it out loud now, it sounds like crazy, but to you now, reflecting back on the last, 20, 30 years, Jesus, look how far I've come.
It has been an amazing journey. I would say when I left for boot camp that day, the answer to that is unequivocally no. I would not have seen myself through that lens back then.
You didn't think you should have a fancy suit? Yeah,
I did not.
Did you own a suit when you went to boot camp? Did you?
I did not.
All right, so you didn't. But now that you're here, is it like, holy shit, look what I did?
It is the most incredible, rewarding journey of my life. And it's such a blessing to be able to do what I get to do every day and lead a business and lead a company that's committed to helping those who protect the freedom that we are all provided.
His name is Jacob Furbee. Jacob, thank you for your service and thank you for being here.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. And that's it for another Forbes Books podcast. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify and hit subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes. You can always connect with me on X, LinkedIn, or Instagram at Joe Partavilla or on TikTok at J Partavilla. And please don't forget the golden rule and treat others as you want to be treated. Thanks for listening. Until next time, adios.